This is fascinating right
it's
now.
Tet McMillan. It's Tet McMillan.
Tet? They went Tet McMillan? They went Tet McMillan?
I had to get another source just to make sure because it's the way. They went Tet.
Whoa.
They went Tet.
They went Tet McMillan. Okay.
Tet McMillan.
All right. Let's get this sucker started. Let's get this sucker started right now. All right, folks. Leave it in the comments. Let us know right now. Tet McMillan is a Carolina Panther. Tetairoa McMillan, Carolina Panther. All right, Chris, here's the thing about this. I wanted defense. I know you wanted defense, but let's set aside what we want. Let's go with what is. Tetairoa McMillan, according to a lot of people outside of Travis Hunter, was the number 1 or number 2 receiver on the board. Again, outside of Travis Hunter. Number 1 or number 2, depending if you like Matthew Golden from Texas, whatever it might be. But you got the tall, rangy wide receiver that's got good speed, that's a smooth route runner. The question is, on a consistent basis, what's his compete level? That's the big question mark you hear from all the experts coming in on Tetairoa McMillan. This is fascinating. For a team that is desperate to improve their defense, they went with the wideout, but whoa. Chris, I need a pause here for a sec, man. I need you to take over.
Pause. That's why I didn't want to say anything at first because it was the way Albert Breer had his tweet. It was like Tet McMillan to the Carolina Panthers is a curveball, and I'm like, wait a minute, are you saying that that's who they picked, or are you saying that if they were to pick him, that would be a curveball? And so that is him. So look, anybody that comes in, of course, we'll support them and we'll try to make sure that we're behind it all the way through and we're cheering for that person's success. But it feels like if you needed to use your first round pick that is in a top 10 on somebody, you needed to use it on somebody that we said could possibly be someone that later on, after their career is done, people are still wearing their jersey in Bank of America Stadium. Not saying that can't be Tet. Maybe there's something
it might be. It very well could be,
or that they see about Tet. That's that person. But it really feels like you needed that next person on defense, especially when you had the worst defense in the NFL. Yes, you had a great time. You did a great job, in free agency so far on defense. But you definitely needed more. And look, there's more picks to go for sure. You can definitely use more picks.
But there are more picks to go.
That's something that just it's flooring me right now. So right now, I'm just at this point where I hope Tet proves me wrong. I hope he ends up being, the best wide receiver ever for the Carolina Panthers. I'm just not sure if that's going to happen.
This feels like boom or bust. This feels like it could be, Bryce Young gets that number 1 guy. Bryce got that number 1 guy, or you didn't. Obviously, it's one thing if you're like a number 2 wide receiver, but this is an X receiver. Yeah, here's Goodell here out on TV now as we're getting the actual official. Tetairoa McMillan. Wow, this my mind is blown. My mind is blown. So this is the big body X receiver. 6'4", 210 pounds, 10-inch hands, so big hands. Sorry, 220 pounds. My apologies on that. 31.5-inch arms. So he's obviously got the length. He's like a smooth strider when he runs. Super productive in college, by the way.
Yep.
Super productive in college. 84 catches last year, 8 receiving touchdowns. First team all Big 12 at over 1,300 receiving yards last year. That's 15.7 yards per catch in the Big 10 in Arizona. So the guy's clearly is productive.
Yeah.
The question is can he compete and do this on a consistent basis, on a night in and night out basis every Sunday in the NFL? That's a major question. I'm not the only person that said that. We've seen a lot of scouts talk about consistent compete level and so on, but man, the dude does have the ability. The dude does have the ability, and man, what? All right, Chris, let's think about this real fast. I know you're cutting tape and all that stuff, working ready for
all good. I'm pulling up the Zoom link right now because Panthers are gonna have him on Zoom.
Okay.
Probably in a few minutes. So
I can
monitor that.
But think about this. So Tetairoa McMillan, for those who are just joining here on YouTube Live, Tetairoa McMillan is a Carolina Panther. You think about what they're now physically going to be lining up with. All right. Tetairoa McMillan, 6'4", 220.
Yeah.
Okay. Xavier Legette is what, 6'1" or 6'2", 6'3", 230?
Yeah.
235? Like, that's and then Jalen Coker, also like not a small dude either. That's a big wide receiving core. Like, let's call it what it is. That's a big wide receiving core. And Bryce Young's going to have dudes to throw the ball to. Good luck to all you 5'10" corners out there trying to handle all these guys.
What is Tet's 40 time?
He never ran the 40. He never ran the 40 in his pro. I got to look and see what his actual 40 time was.
Listen, if he turns out to be the guy of the future, I'm with it. I think I would have preferred speed definitely over that right now because you already had the big bodies. I also wonder what this means for Xavier Legette because they moved up last year to the first round and technically 2 years in a row. Now, 2 years in a row under Dave Canales, former wide receiver coach, right? They're picking wide receivers 2 years in a row. I know that Xavier Legette had his struggles in his first year. We heard about injuries, the hand injury, the foot injury, things like that he was playing through in his first season. They were talking, Bryce was talking yesterday about how he's seen him kind of move up and he's working. He's seeing the determination for him. But I wonder what the feeling is on him in the building because of that. Remember, Jonathan Mingo was taken in the second round just 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That guy was taken with Bryce Young, and he didn't work out. So is Xavier Legette going to be the second running wide receiver for Bryce Young that's going to be gone? I don't want to say it like that, but like if you're already getting Tetairoa McMillan, is that the case? And so hopefully it ends up working out. It just feels like you needed something a little bit more important than that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I didn't think it was as big of a need as an edge rusher. Now, granted, there's also a lot of depth at edge rusher in this draft. So maybe Dan Morgan is looking at, hey, you know what? We'll wait till day 2 to get someone else that can help us on the edge and help us on the front 7 on defense. Let's go ahead and get one of the top wide receivers in the draft. I understand. It's perfectly justifiable. Now, Tetairoa McMillan is with his size and his length is an X receiver. By the way, I looked it up. His 40 time at his pro day, people were reporting around 4.48, but the scouts apparently there was a range of around like 4.46 to 4.53, 4.55, 4.54. So not slow, but not a burner either.
Not bad, yeah, not bad.
But again, 6'4" with his leaping ability, X receiver that can win a bunch of 50-50 balls for Bryce Young. When's the last time Bryce Young, or at any point in Bryce Young's career here at Carolina, has he had a big body receiver that, hey, you know what? I could throw a back shoulder throw that I need to pick up 8 yards for a first down. I could throw a back shoulder throw to a guy that's going to out jump everybody on a consistent basis. Maybe Tetairoa McMillan can be that guy. Maybe he can be that guy. And if McMillan's my X receiver, Jalen Coker can float around as a slot. We know Adam Thielen can float around as a slot, and it'll allow Xavier Legette. There we talked about last year, Chris. Xavier Legette, a lot of people had that comp with Deebo Samuel, someone that you can get the ball into his hands more than just being a wide receiver and running routes. Can you use him on jet sweeps and ends arounds? Maybe this allows Xavier Legette to actually be that, Chris.
So the Carolina Panthers, I'm in their Slack group as they're kind of sending out information, things that's kind of going on with that. Did you say Tet was 6'4"?
6'4".
Panthers sending out 6'5".
Okay. Even maybe he's wearing Air Force Ones. I'll take it.
It's like, oh, 6'5". Okay. All right. Let's see who the Saints are picking up.
Honestly, I heard today that the Saints were going to take Jalon Walker if he was available. I heard that earlier today.
No.
Oh, they took Kelvin Banks. Wow. Okay. They went offensive line. Interesting. Wow. Okay. Jalon Walker, actually.
Jalon Walker is probably sitting there like, yo, what is happening here?
Yo, he's out there in Salisbury right now, like looking down I-85, like, hey, what's up? Y'all didn't want me?
This is a very interesting play because you talked about how deep the draft was at edge rusher. It's also supposed to be deep at wide receiver, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so feeling like the biggest need was at edge rusher, especially for the future, part of me was wondering, and knowing that they're kind of thin This is a thin draft at safety, and the Panthers need safeties. You've only signed one so far. I was thinking that the play would be get edge rusher or defensive line in the first round. Second round, if you could get a safety, one of the top safeties that happens to still be there. After that,
Xavier Watts.
Xavier, whoever that ends up being there. After that, you start sprinkling in and peppering in what you need. Wide receiver here, corner there, maybe another edge rusher there, maybe a backup linebacker who also can play, some special teams, maybe another safety to bring it in. And that's maybe another running back, a burner or something. This is very interesting to me. Now I'm wondering what it looks like. What is the strategy for the rest of the draft? Is it going to be I would expect that the rest of the draft is defensive heavy, but where are you now picking these people? Are you looking at maybe a third round edge rusher? Because if a safety is there that you need in the second round, maybe that's the guy that you end up picking. This is very fascinating. This is very, very fascinating.
It really is, because you and I talked about on the episode of Panthers Playbook that we dropped before the draft that came out earlier this morning.
4.48. Did you say 4.48?
Yeah, I heard 4.48. Somewhere between 4.46 and 4.54.
In a private workout.
Okay.
That I just saw.
So 4.48 again.
I've got all the devices going right now.
Yeah, I need to go back and look up what Xavier Legette ran.
I think he was a 4.5.
Xavier Legette actually ran an official 4.39 at the combine.
Really?
So Legette ran a 4.39 at the combine.
Excuse me.
And Xavier Legette, that's what he ran. He ran a 4.39 at the combine in 2024. So on Xavier Legette's draft profile, this was Xavier Legette's measurables last year coming out of South Carolina. 6'1", 221, 9-inch hands, arm length 31 7/8. Again, his 40 time was 4.39, 40-inch vert, 10.6 broad. Like, you just all the physical measurables. Again, 6'1", 221 pounds is what he officially measured at the combine. And the official measurements, again, for Tetairoa McMillan on his draft profile, 6'4", but the team released 6'5", 219, 31.5-inch arms, 10-inch hands. And then, again, Jalen Coker on top of that, who's 6'2", 215, 220 pounds himself. Like I said, Chris, this is a massive wide receiving core just in terms of physical size. It's a big group. It really is a big group. Bryce Young should be able to, with all this size and length, should be able to put the ball down the field much better this season. Pause.
Yeah. Sorry if you guys see me moving around. I am currently putting together my sports cast, and I'm monitoring everything. I'm going to show you my setup back here. Boom. Got the TVs on. Got the quad set up on the one over there. You got the big one. Then I've got my computer right here for this is where I'm waiting for the Zoom, and we're going to talk to Tat. And then this is my editing computer, and then that's my other computer back there with the mess over there that you see. So I've got all the devices. I got 2 phones going. A lot happening right now on draft night. This is just a look into what it's like to be a local sports anchor. So
it's what it is right now. But man, here's the thing you mentioned. Let's recap this here, Chris. Tetairoa McMillan being a Carolina Panther. You mentioned this a little bit ago. We've had a lot more people join us here on YouTube Live. Keep the comments rolling. We're actually going to dive into the comments here from you all here in just a second. But you mentioned a wide receiver coach, position coach, then turned quarterback coach, turned head coach. Last 2 first picks, wide receivers. And
go ahead. I'll let you finish.
I say. And you got to also anticipate that after the season, Adam Thielen's going to be gone. So your top 3 receivers anticipating are going to be McMillan, Legette, and Coker. All 3 guys on rookie contracts. That's something to keep in mind. Along with Jadeveon Sanders on a rookie contract, Bryce Young would still be on a rookie contract. That's going to allow them to spend money in other places. Let's keep that in mind. This is not just a move for this year. This is a move for the future as well. Again, I want a defense, but I see the justification for it, Chris.
It's not a bad pick, right? I don't want to come off as that. I don't agree with the pick, but it's not a bad pick whatsoever. Yeah. Because you do see the strategy right there. Everything that you just pointed out, Bryce Young, Legette, Coker, McMillan, and you just signed Chuba, so you got Chuba there under control. Now you got to figure out what you're going to do with our two tackles, Moton and Icky. But other than that, like, you have a lot, Jadeveon Sanders, you have a lot of the offense, the core of the offense already in. It's already in, signed. Next, 3-4 years, 5 years, everything's mostly together, right? Before you have to start making decisions on who you're going to cut, who you're going to pay, who you're going to trade, that type of thing. It looks good. My biggest concern with this pick is not that, he's not going to be good. Is he going to be worth the number 8 overall pick? But 2, when you have, again, the 32nd ranked defense in the NFL.
Yes.
Yes, you did a great job in free agency and bringing in a lot of guys. But also, I was thinking you could already look at the wide receiver room and see a future there. If you already see it for Xavier Legette and Jalen Coker, right? And then from there, you could start filling it in. But what's your future at edge rusher, right? DJ Wanham is on an expiring contract.
Yep. Same with Jadeveon Clowney.
Jadeveon Clowney is probably not going to be in the NFL too much longer, right? No. This 2025 could very well be his final year in the NFL. Very well could be. And you just signed Patrick Jones. And is Patrick Jones the guy that's going to be your big splash hire that you're expecting to be with the team for a while?
Yo, Colston Loveland just went 10, not Tyler Warren. This draft just got weird. Colston Loveland, the first tight end off the board, not Tyler Warren. He better route runner, better pass catcher, but a little bit stunned here as well as we're just reacting live to the draft. But all right, Chris, let's get back into this right here. You mentioned, so you're talking about the defense. All right, so they signed Patrick Jones, but DJ Wanham
and all that. So like, who is your
and there's DJ Johnson
and okay, project. Give me a project pick. Like that's like who's gonna be your pass rusher of the future? That's where I thought the Carolina Panthers would want to put their resources in, and to looking at that. So that's why I'm kind of stunned at this pick. I already know I can't even see the comments, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people like, told y'all, I told y'all so. It's gonna be
there are quite a few people that wanted that. So, for example, let's go ahead and roll right on through it. Patrick Knight said, "Are they worried about Legette?" Something that you mentioned there just a moment ago. Are they worried about Xavier Legette? Let's see. Someone here actually said, David Hernandez actually asked us a question. I got who do you think influenced the decision? I wonder if he's throwing in there David Tepper. Yeah, very well could be. Very well could be. Willie Ice said Jalon Walker.
The wide receiver coach did.
Keep that in mind. Willie Ice said Jalon Walker is a culture guy. After losing Shaq Thompson, we really needed that. Someone said that we also drafted the next Kelvin Benjamin. Like, but that's the thing. It's like this guy could be a number 1 or he could be a Kelvin Benjamin.
Listen, I'll say this though. For as much grief as we give Kelvin Benjamin, he had a decent year before he got hurt.
He had a decent little run. He had a decent little run.
I mean, it was quick. I mean, that it was quick, man. He was a Massachusetts. He was a UMass Minuteman.
Yeah,
but
he was
when he was there before the injury. He was good.
Thomas Williams said it's not Marvin Harrison, it's not Brian Thomas, it's none of those receiver talent from last year. Horrible pick at number 8. Preston Garvey said good pick. We plugged holes on defense. Bryce needs weapons. Here's the thing. Two things can be true. As one of the commenters said, hey, our wide receiver room just upgraded.
Yes.
True.
Yes.
True. It did.
I totally agree.
Totally agree. But there also are other major holes in other places. Chris, I'm going to run this down for you. Panthers, points per game last season defensively, 32nd in the NFL. Yards per game last season, 32nd in the NFL. Points per play allowed, 32nd in the NFL. Yards per play, 32nd in the NFL. Defensive third down conversion, dead last in the NFL. Red zone scoring percentage on defense, 29th in the NFL. Opponents' touchdowns per game, 32nd in the NFL. You want to get into some more of the nitty-gritty statistics? Take a look at this one right here. For example, opponents' completion percentage, 26th in the NFL for the Carolina Panthers defensively. Yards per pass, 28th in the NFL in yards per pass. Opponents' number of passes per game was only 9th in the NFL. Only 9th in the NFL, which is actually a low percentage there. Here's the number to throw at you there, Chris, as well. Sack percentage. Sack percentage for the Carolina Panthers defense last year, 28th in the NFL. 28th in the NFL in terms of sack percentage getting to the quarterback. Opponents' interceptions thrown, 25th in the NFL. So this team last year didn't get to the quarterback. This team last year didn't cause any turnovers. They couldn't stop teams in the red zone. I understand they signed Bobby Brown. I understand Derrick Brown is coming back. I know they signed Treshaun Wharton, and they also signed Trayvon Mooring. I get all the additions and Patrick Jones and the additions that they made on defense. They still need more. Plain and simple, they still need more on that side of the ball.
All those guys you named besides Trayvon Morgan, I feel like we're saying his last name wrong. I can't remember the real way to say it. If I remember correctly, Morgan was on a 4-year deal, right?
I believe it was 3-year deal. 3-year deal.
Everybody else is what, 3 years or less?
Yeah,
maybe 2 years for
Patrick Jones
is
a 2-year deal. Wharton was a 3-year deal. Bobby Brown 3-year deal.
You're just plugging holes at this point.
Yes,
like it's just you're not fixing the actual leak. Like, have you ever rode over a nail and then you notice the tire pressure keeps going down and you go to the tire shop and they're like, well, we could plug it for like $50 or you can get a new one for $200. And if maybe it's not that time, you got other things coming up. It's Valentine's Day, you're trying to get something for your girl or whatever. And you're like, all right, let me plug it up. But you're going to have to buy another tire in a few months because that plug isn't going to last, right? And I feel like that's what the Carolina Panthers are doing. There's some holes in tires right now, and they're simply just plugging. They're not replacing the actual tire because look, again, we got a whole draft to go. There's 8 more picks.
There's a lot.
So, and you can get a lot of value in rounds 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7 if you pick the right people. But the history of the Carolina Panthers, especially recent history, doesn't make me feel good about that. Like, once we get to Saturday, I'm not necessarily counting on those guys. And so that means these first 3, these are people that are going to have to really perform, not just this year, but for the next 3 to 4 years. Is Tet McMillan going to make it to his 5th-year option? Is he going to make it to that extension? Because if I'm picking somebody in that first round, I want to make sure that in 5 years, one, we're picking up his 5th-year option, and then also we're going after his extension.
I want that second contract.
Yes. I want that second contract. But again, we need the defense. You put all the stats out there. And so I don't know. I'm not upset, right? I'm not upset with this. I'm shocked that this is where they decided to go.